A leg lamp, a pink bunny suit, these look familiar to any of you? They are both icons from the holiday classic A Christmas Story. Meet two entrepreneurs who are selling these items and others based on the film. One has permission and one doesn't. That plus small business tips from Santa himself. That's all coming up next on this holiday edition of Your Business. I'm JJ Ramberg, and welcome to Your Business, where we give you tips and advice to help your business grow. Leg lamps and bunny suits are not usually the first things that come to mind when most people think about the holidays. But for legions of fans of the film classic A Christmas Story, these items are must-have gifts at this time of year. We found two entrepreneurs who have tapped this Christmas Story market with two very different approaches to licensing and running their companies. 'Tis the month before Christmas, and all through the house, the tourists are flocking to see A Christmas Story house. The leg lamp was placed by the window with care. Not one person left without a knick-knack to share.
We sell all kinds of stuff: t-shirts, sweatshirts, bunny suits, leg lamp night lights, leg lamp ornaments, leg lamp cookie cutters. We sell Lifebuoy soap, of course, decoder pins, fudge, actual fudge.
Brian Jones is a lifelong fan of the 1983 holiday classic, A Christmas Story.
My husband is very Christmas Story obsessed.
I wouldn't say I'm obsessed. I really like it.
His favorite scene features the legendary leg lamp.
Will you look at that? Isn't that glorious? It's indescribably beautiful. It reminds me of the 4th of July.
What started on a whim in 2003 turned into a business he ran out of his garage in San Diego.
I'll sell a couple leg lamps. That'll be kind of funny. It'll be a little extra income. And it just exploded. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it full time.
Although he was a little worried about the fees, Jones contacted the film company, Warner Brothers, early on to license the rights.
So I got a letter back from them just saying, like, okay, that's great. If it ever becomes something, if you're going to do something further, let us know.
Just a year after starting his leg lamp business, the house where the movie was made came up for sale on eBay.
It took me all about 30 seconds. I decided to buy it. It said it was in Cleveland, Ohio. I didn't know where Cleveland, Ohio was. I had to put it in MapQuest. I'm like, Cleveland, Ohio.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry, because that's exactly how I felt at the time.
It's a little far from San Diego. I can make it work, no problem.
Without a clear plan, Jones bought the house sight unseen, making a down payment with money from his fledgling leg lamp business. With the intention of restoring the house to the way it looked in the movie, inside and out, Jones needed money.
I started kind of the Christmas Story convention as a fundraiser to try and generate some money to renovate the house. And once the house opened, it just kind of, we had the grand opening. It's like, well, this has been a lot of fun. Let's continue it.
Now, every year at a fancy hotel in Cleveland, the Christmas Story convention kicks off the holiday season, bringing die-hard fans of the movie out to meet the actors.
Hi, I'm Scott Schwartz. I played Flick in A Christmas Story.
Hi, I'm Zach Ward. I played Scott Farkas.
Ian Petrella, Randy Parker.
Tour the house. Oh, my. And pose with the leg lamp. For Jones, it was a no-brainer. His Christmas Story house and leg lamp business were now officially a big deal. And he figured it was time to call Warner Brothers back.
Legally and just from, whatever standpoint, or I definitely, it had to be licensed to call it A Christmas Story house.
With between 5 and 20% going to Warner Brothers, licensing has actually been a boon for Jones and his business. His website has become a one-stop shopping for all things associated with A Christmas Story.
I'd say probably 75% of our business is actually online. We wouldn't be anywhere near what it is today if it weren't for all the memorabilia and stuff that we're able to sell because we license. So I just think it's the way to go. It's the right thing to do. In the end, it really works out well for you.
Andrew Clark of Salt Lake City, Utah, is another lifelong fan of A Christmas Story. His favorite scene involves a bright pink pair of fuzzy bunny pajamas.
Ralphie, who's the main character in this movie, receives a present from his Aunt Clara. It's pink bunny pajamas, and his parents make him put it on, and it's just funny.
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
6 years ago, Clark got the idea to make bunny suits when he tried to find one on the internet to buy for a friend.
I scoured the internet and I couldn't find anything. So I thought, I wonder if there's a market out there for this.
That little whim, along with his $30,000 lifetime savings and the work of a local seamstress, yielded 20 prototype bunny suits and a new career. Within a few weeks, Clark received over 1,000 orders on his website. Like Jones, his Christmas story-based business took off fast. Unlike Jones, however, Clark decided not to get permission and got an angry letter from Warner Brothers lawyers instead.
You do not have permission from Warner to use the elements from the movie. I did look into the legal ramifications of creating a product that's very prevalent in this movie. But I mean, I knew already that you couldn't patent or trademark a pink bunny suit. I mean, it's a pink bunny suit.
Clark has managed to avoid confrontation by walking a fine line between meeting Warner Brothers' demands and standing up for his rights.
I complied immediately, and then they sent me a letter this year asking that I remove the name Aunt Clara's Creations because that's a name used in the movie. But I knew my rights, and I think that's really important when you're dealing with a huge company, that you don't get intimidated, that you know your rights, and you say, hey, I'll come this far, but I know my rights, and you can't push me any farther than that.
Brian and Andrew have both taken very different approaches to licensing for their companies. But they both say, at least for now, the way they've chosen is working out for them.
I consider it a small fee. It adds up, but not to anything, overly significant. So it's definitely worth it.
You can't patent a pink bunny suit any more than you can patent a blue dinosaur or a yellow duck.
So what are the advantages of licensing, and are you taking a legal risk by not licensing when it comes to products like these? Let's turn to this week's Merry Board of Directors. Charles Grimes is the founder and managing partner of Grimes & Battersby, a law firm that deals with issues like licensing, copyright, and patents. Carol Roth is a business strategist. You can find her online at carolroth.com. And Gene Marks is the founder of the Marks Group and the small business columnist for the New York Times. Great to see all of you.
Hello.
We're all interested in what you have to say about this. Do you have to license? Is the guy who sells the bunny suits crazy not to be?
You don't have to license. I mean, you start with a basic proposition that a movie is covered by a copyright, so everything that is in there is going to be protected by intellectual property. He's correct in the sense that if there's something in the movie that is generic, that's been in the public domain for a long time, you don't have to take a license. But I think he's making a huge mistake as a small business owner because of the fact that you license because of the borrowed equity. And frankly, he's trying to sell bunny suits and he can't promote them or publicize them on the internet or anywhere else as anything other than bunny suits. Whereas the fellow who's doing the house and the lamp is able to take the borrowed equity. All the fans who know that movie, unlike you, who have seen it, would be interested and would find his lamp
just by doing a search for a Christmas story.
Correct. And I mean, if you do a Christmas story, you come up with his website. You don't, and Andrew, the fellow who does the bunny suit, he's one of the many people who are out there struggling to sell bunny suits. And the funny thing about it is, he says that he doesn't need rights to do what he's doing. Well, that's the good news, bad news. The good news is he's probably correct. The bad news is that if I want to compete with him, I can. So tomorrow, I can create my own bunny suits, and so can everyone else on the panel.
I think everything about licensing is about leveraging raving fans. And so you have a built-in cult following for this movie, and they want the real deal. They want the Rolex. They don't want the Folex. They want the real thing. And so I think it's really important, if you're going to go after that and try and capitalize on these fans, that at the end of the day, that you have the brand that goes along with it.
You know what interests me as well is that the business that he's running, it doesn't seem like that big a business, and yet Warner Brothers is still interested. I mean, the one guy, they're writing him a cease and desist letter. So I guess, the lesson is, you don't have to be any kind of a significant size to get the attention of somebody that owns copyrights and stuff. They'll come after you. As big as Warner Brothers is, it was important to them.
How hard is it to strike a licensing deal, though? Because I get that it would help him market this. He seems to be doing an okay business on his own right now. Is it more of a headache? I know he'd have to pay, if it were the same as the other guy, between 5% and 20%, which is significant. Right. And what about the legal fees and everything else? So is it so hard that it would be a deterrent?
It is significantly difficult to get a license. Frankly, though, if I were him, I would tell him to take advantage of this opportunity. If Warner Brothers is offering him a license because it legitimatizes his business both to a consumer, if you're going to see a bunny suit and it's a Warner Brothers licensed product, you're going to have an impression that it's a better product than if you're just getting a bunny suit from Joe Blow from Ohio.
And I've got to ask, I mean, Chuck, is it can a guy like me do this on my own, or do I have to have a licensing attorney or a patent attorney to do this?
You generally will have to have a licensing attorney to help you, but having said that, the truth is that in this kind of a situation, Warner Brothers has an agreement that they're going to send you, and it's pretty much non-negotiable. It's not like as if you're going to be able to change anything.
Not a lot of leverage there.
If I were him, I'd say, look, again, get your foot in the door. You're a small guy trying to start a business, and if you want this to be more than a hobby, get that first license, and then going forward, you have the opportunity to go to Paramount, to go to Universal, to go to others, and point to your track record, point to your success, point to that credibility that first license gave you.
Thank you so much for all of your
Pleasure.
expertise on this. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
If you're not careful, travel costs can eat into your company's bottom line. So here now are 5 tips for managing those travel expenses, courtesy of allbusiness.com. Number 1, have a travel policy in place. Make sure your staff is aware of price limitations when they book trips. 2, establish a uniform reporting system that requires people to submit their expenses in an organized manner, thus making it easier for you to review. 3, use a single corporate card to book everything. Not only is it easier to keep track of expenses, it will also help you accumulate more miles or points. 4, if you're traveling to a major convention or conference, look into deals with local hotels. And number 5, take advantage of tax deductions. If you're traveling solely for business, you should be able to deduct it as a travel-related expense. Over the past year, we've gotten a lot of great small business advice from some pretty big names. We've learned a lot from these pros, so we thought we'd look back at some of their most important points for helping your business grow.
One of the things I've learned in both, as an avocado grower and as a songwriter and as a touring artist, that it is as important to ask for or take the advice of those who've been in the business longer than you. After I performed at Farm Aid, I got to know Willie Nelson quite well. And I relate to him so much because I feel like I'm in the exact same game of songwriting, of touring, of agriculture. And, I couldn't be who I am if I didn't look up to others, if they didn't give me a template and a map to follow. And what I want to create for my business, for my businesses, is the possibility for others to watch, to follow, and be a part of mine, or to create their own based on what they've seen.
This is a very complex business model. There's all these things happening in the background. There are now 500,000 people sharing 8,000 or 9,000 cars across 14 major cities. So you can imagine all the complexity going on in the background. Keeping that simple so that the customer feels like this is a really simple experience that I enjoy doing is a complex problem. And one of the challenges we face is how do we do that? So we've created a culture and a set of values around keeping the whole concept simple. And in fact, one of our 5 core values is keep it simple. And so we've really made that a mantra of the company.
To start a business when you're competing against these huge giants in cosmetics, it's not easy. So you really have to look at your point of difference. What are you going to have that they don't have? I had these fabulous makeup brushes that I had cut, and women asked me every day if they could buy them. I took my brushes, brought them to a manufacturer, had them duplicated at the highest level of quality, and that's how my business started.
You ultimately are in business to give the consumer a great experience with your product. And when people drink a Sam Adams, it's more than about just pounding a beer. They want an education about beer. They want to know what foods it'll go with. And by doing that, you actually enhance and add to the customer's understanding and appreciation, not only of Samuel Adams, but of craft beer in general.
building your personal brand right now is the true gold rush, land grab opportunity for most small businesses out there. I mean, whether you're a lawyer or in landscaping or have a flower shop, not creating content around your personal brand is a huge missed opportunity. Look at myself. I grew up in the wine business. I did a wine show. I built a personal brand. But now I talk about business and marketing and branding and Web 2.0. And a lot of my fan base has followed because it was my personal brand, not the wine or Wine Library TV that was really building the brand equity. And I think that there's a lot to learn through that for a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses.
We didn't make money for many, many years. We were an artistic success. We were making great ice cream. People loved the shop. Our sales increased every year, our expenses increased every year, and we were pretty much breaking even. What started to happen for the company was we started to make more unusual flavors with big chunks of cookies and candies. We started expanding our distribution, we started packaging ice cream into pints, and you know, I think sometimes people look at Ben & Jerry's and think of it as an overnight success, but it was not overnight at all.
I've taken the road towards expanding within the same category we're good at, and that's footwear. Companies can make 20 products and try to be good at enough of them to have a successful business. That's not my approach. I've never thought that way. I always wanted to be the best, and the perfect shoe has yet to been created, so we'll never reach it. And as a result, I've looked to expand footwear as opposed to make 15 other products.
Still to come, will business pick up in 2011? Will customers return and owners start hiring again? Our roundtable of experts give us their forecast for next year. And who knows more about distribution and employee morale than Santa Claus? The jolly old fellow shares his business philosophy in our Learning from the Pros.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Small business played a major role in the political discussion of 2010. That resulted in the small business lending bill and tax cuts. Will that create a more robust economic climate for small business in 2011? George Cloutier is the CEO of American Management Services. He's also author of the book, Profits Aren't Everything, They're the Only Thing. William Dunkelberg is chief economist for the National Federation of Independent Business. And with us once again are Carol Roth and Gene Marks. Great to see all of you.
Hey,
great to see you,
Great
JJ.
to be here. Great.
All right, George and Bill, I'm going to start with you because we sat here a year ago and had the same discussion about 2010. So, Bill, what do you think about 2011? Are you more optimistic than you were last year?
Yes, I am. 2011 will be better than 2010, no doubt about it. Our optimism index is the highest we've seen since December of 07, which was the peak of the expansion. That's good news. The bad news is it's still pretty low, so it doesn't look like any rapid, exciting growth here. We don't think the legislation, of course, is going to help very much. There's plenty of money out there for us to borrow. We just don't have good things to do with it. So you don't borrow money if you don't have a good place to invest it, or if you can't hire workers who earn more than you're going to pay them. And that's the problem that we've had. But it's improving.
You know what, Bill? I couldn't even get beyond when you said I'm optimistic because I have not heard you say that in so long. so I'm going to just take that from this conversation. George, tell me what your outlook is for 2011.
I'm slightly more optimistic. I still think it's going to be hand-to-hand combat for the average small business person for the whole year. I think the lending bill, while widely touted, and the tax things, while widely touted, I'd have to agree that they're really not going to do that much, but the normal business cycle seems to be showing the first signs of spring, at least for small business.
In turn to you guys here. What do you think is the thing that small businesses are going to need the most next year, or are benefiting from the most now that will move into next year?
Well, I can actually just start. I mean, what George said about the cycle is very interesting. I mean, besides writing, doing the writing that I do, I run my own business. I have 10 people, and we sell business software, which is a capital item. So we've seen quite an uptick in the past few months, and we are right now. I'm sitting on the biggest backlog of quotes for business software that we've had really in the past 2 or 3 years.
What about you, Carol?
You know, I'm a little contrarian on this, JG. I think that there's definitely pent-up consumer demand, but is all demand good demand? I think that we're seeing a lot of deals out there. Groupon right now, fastest growing company of all time because they do deals. Look at Best Buy this week. They missed their earnings. Why? Because they didn't do discounting, and all of the sales went to the Walmarts and the Targets and the Amazons of the world. So I think that there is demand. I think, though, that it may not be the kind of demand that small businesses want, because it's not the loyal customer, it's the one that's just looking for a bargain.
I want to ask you about this, Bill, because every time we talk, and you mentioned it before, you talk about how there's lending out there and stuff, but really what small businesses need are customers. What are you hearing from people about that now?
Absolutely. Same story. 30% of the owners out there say, that their problem is weak sales. That's what we need. If sales pick up, then I have a reason to hire workers to take care of them. I have reason to buy more inventory. I have reason to buy new equipment to make stuff. That's my reason for being in business, is to take care of customers. And we just see the spending, although improving, it's still pretty weak. And so that's our number one problem. And we would like to have, over the last 2 years, seen the government spend more time worrying about helping the consumer than doing all these other things that they've done.
I see all of you are shaking your heads about this.
One of the biggest things that just drove me nuts for the past couple of years of the government is that it's gimmick after gimmick to give us the incentive to hire people. We will hire more people when there's more demand for us to afford those people, and we get that. So we don't need the tax breaks to do that, or those gimmicks to incentivize to do that. We'll do it on our own. So I think what was said is exactly right. I mean, to incentivize the consumer to spend, I think has a big trickle-down effect.
George, if you had to have one wish for next year for small businesses, what would it be?
I wish that the government could figure a way to actually unfreeze credit, because credit to small businesses, and we talk to several hundred a week, is still essentially frozen. Despite all the noise in Washington, they did $30 billion supposedly, which could translate to $300 million through the small community banks. As far as I know, and I was looking yesterday, is I haven't seen a single loan that's gone through that program. So I think they could do more with that.
George, I just want to ask you something about this, because we've spoken a lot about this particular topic on this show, and some of the bankers that we talk to say, look, we would love to lend people money. We're not getting good applications in here.
Well, no, they're getting applications that they're worried about, but they aren't any different than they were 3 years ago, except maybe the owners have lost a little more money. What's happened is the government, on one hand, has said loan this money. On the other hand, they're tightening capital requirements.
Well, 91% of our members said they got all the credit they wanted, including 53% who said, I don't want a loan. So that's not the issue. I'm the chairman of a small bank with 4 branches, and we have money to lend. We're finally going to go into, munis, because we can't get enough applicants in to get that money to lend it out to small businesses, and that's who we serve. So, that's really the issue. Once business picks up for them, they'll be able to get loans. Their P&Ls will look better, and we'll move forward and make the loans that they need.
So 2 different perspectives on that, but I'm going to go back to the beginning, which most of you, 3 out of 4, said that you were more optimistic than you were last year. And so we'll leave it on that. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Santa Claus is the CEO of the biggest seasonal business in the world. But how does he manage to do it year after year? In this very special Christmas edition of Learning from the Pros, Santa gives us an exclusive interview revealing his approach to marketing, social media, and customer service.
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blixen and all his reindeers.
I have a little secret. I don't market heavily. Just once a year I come out. That's it. If I was there every day, bombarding them with stories and marketing messages, they would stop paying attention. But because I'm only here once a year, they do pay attention. I do have a marketing strategy. And I learned this one from my friend Seth Godin. He wrote a book called All Marketers Are Liars. the thing he said in the book was that good marketers aren't lawyers, they're great storytellers. And that's what I am. And so if you look at the TV, they tell stories about Santa. If you read books, they tell stories about Santa. All the kids know the stories about me. And that's how I get my message out there.
Is that you, Santa Claus?
You know how much I love velvet. And so when I read this fabulous book by Michael Port called Book Yourself Solid, I was just blown away because his first chapter talks about the red velvet rope policy. And I was immediately interested in that. And what he said was you need a policy that weeds out the bad customers and allows in only the customers that energize and inspire you. And most importantly, allow you to do your best work. And so I adopted this policy and I took it one step further. Naughty children, they get coal. And great, nice children, they get all the wonderful presents they could ever ask for. And so now, if you're naughty, you know you won't get a present.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
In the old days, it was very difficult. We had a long list, and I had thousands of elves trying to keep track of all these children. Now, social media. We can find out what people are doing. I have the Twitter account and they write in what they want. And the same thing on Facebook. The adults do it through LinkedIn. So yes, through social media is a wonderful way to stay in contact and keep in touch with the people that I serve.
Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney.
I don't understand how CEOs just can abdicate talking to their customers. Who should be talking to your customers more than you? Of course, I have people who answer lots of questions, but I get in there too. And so all business owners need to talk to the people that they serve.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
We used to make all the toys. A lot of work, let me tell you. What I realized over time is that my core competency wasn't manufacturing, it was distribution. I had the best sleigh in the world, so I could get to everybody's house in one evening. But manufacturing, let that to the best, so I outsource it. It took a good 75 years. But because I had such a strong brand, we were able to take the time to make those changes. And in the process, we got much more lean. I can't say same thing about myself, but our distribution process is leaner. And we even have, our elves have been going off and becoming Six Sigma black belts. Everybody finds that a laugh. Ho, 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 ho.
So you have your Twitter feed, your Facebook page, you have a Yelp account, but how do you manage them all in one place? Check out our website of the week. Postling.com provides social media management services. You can download a dashboard to post messages to your different social media sites, track your feedback, and schedule routine tasks. A free trial version is available. A paid membership costs $24.99 a month. To learn more about today's show, click on our website. It's openforum.com/yourbusiness. You'll find all of today's segments plus web-exclusive content with more information to help your business grow. And don't forget to become a fan of the show on Facebook. We love getting your feedback. You can also follow us on Twitter. It's @MSNBCYourBiz. Next time, we meet an entrepreneur who left corporate America to return to his childhood passion, playing with Legos.
And I realized, people are calling me up and asking for 5- and 6-figure commissions. There's a business opportunity here. I don't think I need to sit in an office anymore.
Find out how he's been able to build his business with a little help from a familiar brand. Till then, I'm JJ Ramberg, and remember, we make your business our business.